You want to love God, yet you are unsure how to begin. You try to create a feeling, repeat a phrase, or design a practice that will finally produce love. The more you try, the more distant it seems. Rumi said the problem is in the assumption. Love is not produced by effort. It is the condition in which effort is understood. He argued that love is not your achievement but your nature. You do not approach it. You uncover it. The search for a method is itself a confession of distance. If love is already the ground of your being, the question shifts. Not how do I love God, but what obscures the love that is already here? If love is not something you give, what is it that gives you? You notice a pattern. You measure love as intensity, compare it with yesterday, and fear it may vanish tomorrow. You track your inner state as if it were a score that proves devotion. Rumi explained that this measurement is the mind's way of staying in charge. It wants progress, milestones, and guarantees. But love is not a project. It is recognition. When you try to own it, it withdraws into what cannot be owned. When you stop claiming it, it stands evident as the basis of experience. Your doubt is useful. It shows you the place where ownership ends. If love cannot be measured, what remains when measuring stops? Rumi lived in 13th century Persia, trained in law and theology. He possessed structure, reputation, and a stable intellectual system. Then he met Shams of Tabriz, whose uncompromising presence dismantled his reliance on doctrine and redirected him toward direct knowing. Rumi wrote from the aftershock of that shift, from belief about God to awareness as God's witness within. His language reframed devotion as recognition. He did not tell you to build a ladder. He showed you there was no height to climb. If the origin is within, what counts as distance? You assume love is an emotion you feel toward God. Emotions change. Therefore, love must change. Rumi explained that divine love is not a feeling, but the unveiling of unity. It is awareness free of self-reference. When the idea of separation loosens, the distinction between lover and beloved thins. The event is not emotional excitement, but clear seeing. There is one life moving without remainder. To love God, in this sense, is to stop narrating a separate self standing before a separate deity. Love is the state in which that narration loses authority. The result is not passivity. It is coherence. Action continues, but without the weight of self-claim. If love is the absence of separation, who remains to possess it? You try harder. You add practices, extend hours, increase repetition. The worker in you feels safe when busy. Rumi warned that the worker is the veil. The one who tries to reach God imagines a path between two. That imagined distance keeps the worker employed. Effort has a place. It prepares attention and disciplines distraction, but it cannot deliver love, because love is what remains when the doer falls silent. The paradox is sharp. Prepare carefully, then do not credit preparation for the seeing that follows. Work clears the surface. It does not create the depth. If the doer cannot reach love, what ends when love appears? You call your longing seeking. You want closeness. You want assurance that you belong. Rumi said the longing is not proof of absence. It is the echo of presence. You do not desire what is foreign. You desire what is native to you but concealed. The ache you feel is recognition slowed by thought. In this view, union precedes desire. Desire is union coming to awareness. Your task is not to chase what you already are, but to recognize the chase as memory trying to become clear. You do not move toward God. God moves as your capacity to recognize. If longing is already union in disguise, what exactly is missing? You think suffering disproves love. You interpret pain as distance. Rumi reversed that logic. He explained that pain exposes the strategies of the ego, the constant negotiation for control, reassurance, and advantage. When those strategies fail, attention becomes honest. In that honesty, love is not created. It is revealed. Suffering, then, is not a punishment but a disclosure. It removes the claims that concealed what never left. This does not glamorize pain. It clarifies its function. Pain is not sacred. Truth is, pain merely stops the noise long enough for truth to be heard. If suffering removes the veil, is it an enemy or a reluctant guide? You fear the phrase, die before you die. You imagine loss. Rumi explained that the death he speaks of is not the end of being, but the end of ownership. The lover who claims to love cannot survive the recognition that only love is real. When that claimant dissolves, nothing of value is lost. Life goes on. Action continues. Care deepens. But the center has shifted from I love to love is. This is not mystical drama. It is clean logic. If love is the name for unity, there can be no separate owner of it. The lover's death is the end of the claim, not the end of affection. When there is no one left to love, what remains except love? You expected a dramatic transformation. Instead, you meet something plain, unembellished presence. Rumi described this simplicity as the signature of the real. Nothing needs to be added to make it sacred. In presence, attention is not chasing, comparing, or rehearsing. It is simply aligned with what is. Love here is not excitement. It is accuracy. It does not argue for itself. It requires no proof because it is prior to every proof. In this simplicity, devotion is not a separate act. It is the natural posture of awareness. If nothing special is required, what was all the struggle for? You ask how to live this insight. Rumi pointed to ordinary choices as the field of verification. Speak without self-display. Serve without calculation. Let action be clean of ownership. Practices remain useful, not as currency to purchase love, but as methods to steady attention, remembrance, ethical restraint, honest reflection, gratitude. Each returns you from narrative to presence. When you fail, you return. When you succeed, you return. The rhythm is the same because love is the same. Life proceeds, yet the sense of a separate achiever grows thin. Work is done, relationships are tended, responsibilities are met, and none of it accumulates a separate you. If love acts through you, what is left to defend? You began with a question, how to fall in love with God. You end with a revision. There was no distance to cross. Rumi's hidden way is not acquisition, but recognition. Love is not earned, produced, or maintained. It is the clarity that appears when the narrator of separation grows quiet. Effort prepares, longing remembers, suffering reveals, and presence confirms. The lover dissolves into the fact that only love is real. In this clarity, action becomes transparent and relationships become expressions of one life knowing itself. You do not carry love. Love carries you. When the search stops, what remains is not emptiness, but the obvious. There has never been anything outside the reach of the one you wish to reach. Assumption. Love for God is a method and a goal. Examination, effort, measurement, and longing expose a hidden belief in distance. Dissolution, suffering undermines ownership. The lover, as a separate claimant, falls away. Recognition, love is unity recognized, awareness without self-reference. Result, stillness and practicality, presence acting without possession, service without calculation. The movement is from pursuit to recognition, from narrative to clarity, from I love God to love is. The final state is not a feeling to protect, but a seeing that does not end.